I've pitched this company hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. You want to talk about ghosting and dating, you really get ghosted in fundraising.
Oh, man.
Photographers have Instagram, dancers have TikTok, gamers have Twitch, musicians have Spotify, and authors don't really have a place where they can build an audience of readers and engage with those readers in a meaningful way.
I'm joined today by Allison Trowbridge, founder of Copper Books, the social app for book lovers, where we talk about what it's like being a tech startup founder, fundraising, rejection, and the sheer grit it takes to build a tech company as a woman.
Of all venture-backed companies, only 2% are founded by women. I've had so many rejections that had me in tears, just feel like a punch in the gut. You're not doing it because the world is telling you this is the best thing ever. You're doing it in spite of that.
I could talk to you all day. Welcome to Daring Forward, where we feature ordinary women doing extraordinary things and learn practical lessons and action steps to help you live courageously. I'm your host, Sahar. Now, if you're ready, let's dare forward. Have you ever been ghosted on a date? Now, imagine going through that hundreds of times, feeling like you're being punched in the gut by multiple people over a long period of time. Would you still keep going? Well, that's exactly what our guest today has been through, but with her startup. I'm joined today by Allison Trowbridge, founder of Copper Books, the social app for book lovers, where we talk about what it's like being a tech startup founder, fundraising, rejection, and the sheer grit it takes to build a tech company as a woman. As an Oxford business graduate and published author herself, she wanted to create a modern solution for the challenges authors face in the publishing process and with reaching their readers. Copper was born as a result and has since built an incredible community of book lovers. Let's take it back a few steps. Could you tell me briefly, who was Allison before Copper Books? What were you doing? What was life like for you?
Yeah, I actually come from a very different background. I worked in anti-trafficking and impact investing for most of a decade. So I started my first job out of college, was the first employee at what became a really big anti-trafficking group, and had the privilege of having a front seat to this very big social movement. And I actually saw books lay the groundwork for that social movement. And so that was a really big reason why I became passionate about publishing as a way to kind of move the needle on social change. I saw, half a dozen books or so kind of come out in the mid-2000s. And it went from nobody knowing what human trafficking was to everybody knowing and talking about it. And books played a really big part in that. So then was doing impact investing as well as kind of a way of going upstream of the economic problems that make people vulnerable to trafficking and slavery. And then I went to do my MBA over at Oxford under the assumption I would stay in the impact space, and published a book while I was there. Kind of did both those at the same time. And that's what kind of originally stoked the fire of maybe I need to start a company.
Wow. So that you had a lot packed in there. So you were at university and you wrote your book and you launched your first debut book. What was that about?
Yeah, so the book I wrote was called 22 Letters to a Young Woman Searching for Meaning. It was the book that I wished had existed when I was graduating from college. So rewinding a bit, when I was just first starting my career on the brink of graduating, I pulled an all-nighter with one of my best friends. And I said, I wish there was a book that spoke to all of the questions and uncertainties and frustrations and, just the desire to live a meaningful life and make an impact. And I felt like that book didn't exist. I wanted that kind of mentorship, and I didn't see it in the market. So back when I was 22, I kind of made this commitment that whatever I did professionally, I knew I was going to write that book someday. And I sat on the idea for, most all of my 20s. I didn't get the book deal until I was probably 29, around there. And so it was something that had stirred in me for a long time, but I always knew that eventually I would write that. So it did talk through a lot of my kind of impact work, but mostly written to a young woman as she's graduating college and asking those same questions I did.
That is so amazing to hear and fascinating. And you're right, like it's not a concept that a lot of people are talking about even now, I feel. So then from that point, like how did the idea for Copper Books come to you and why did you start the app?
I was publishing the book while in grad school at the same time, which I thought was a great idea. And it was very, very overly ambitious. I did a 2-year MBA in 1 year, so it was already an accelerated program. And then trying to send in edits and run to my final exams, and it was a very intense time. But
Oh
going through
my
the
word.
process of releasing a book while being in business school had me looking at the broader publishing industry, kind of asking some of the existential questions around why does it feel so difficult right now to be an author? This should be the best time in history to be publishing a book. And every author I know is frustrated, discouraged, feels on their own, like it's all of this shameless self promotion. And I had a professor at Oxford, Rachel Botsman, who was a big author, and she kept pulling me aside and kind of nudging me and saying, Allie, no one has really gone after this industry to disrupt it. I think there's a big opportunity here. I don't know
Mm.
what, but I'm just saying you should go look in that direction. And at the time, I was like, absolutely not. I'm super burnt out. I don't want to start something. I want to just go get a job. And but
Yeah.
that nudge planted the early seed. And once that seed gets planted and takes root and starts growing, you kind of can't ignore it. So I took a few months off, took a bit of a sabbatical, which I was very grateful. Another mentor sat me down and pretty explicitly told me I needed to take a break and chill out. And so taking
Yeah.
that time to take a little bit of time off,
Yeah.
just a few months, but to kind of reset and think again and start dreaming. And that was creating that open space was where then that little seed started to grow.
Wow. Okay. So take me through the journey of how the app came about
Mm.
and like how you sourced investors, how you've got authors on board. Like, can you just talk us through beginning up to where you are right now?
Yeah, it's been a very iterative process, to say
Okay.
the least, and the steepest learning curve of anything I've ever done. I never in a million years thought I would have found a tech company of all things.
Wow.
Originally, when I started out, I actually incorporated as a publishing house, thinking I was going to publish books and publish books in a different way that was in a real partnership model with authors. And so I brought on a few angel investors, raised a little bit of money for that, started building, did all the financial models. And then when we stepped back and looked at all the models and realized we really weren't going to make money how we were planning to do it, it was
Mm.
one of those, what I like to call the entrepreneurial trough of sorrow, where you kind of enter this point of like, okay, I've committed to this thing. What am I doing? It's my original vision isn't going to work. I
Okay.
need to pivot. What's beautiful about entrepreneurship, though, is that you kind of fixate on the problem that you see, and then you fixate on a really big market that's experiencing that problem, and then you iterate on the product until you get the elusive product market fit and find that thing that's solving the problem and can do it at scale. So going through the process, what I realized was that the product I'd initially envisioned of a publishing house wasn't going to actually be the solution to the problem I was trying to solve.
Okay.
And that's when I realized I was going to have to step back and really dig into what would actually cause a solution that was scalable. One of my big revelations when I thought about what was broken in publishing was that at the end of the day, it's really a word of mouth industry. And what doesn't work is when publishers, they can't just buy an ad and sell books. It's really driven by somebody that you respect, admire, a close friend, an author recommending a book to you, and that
Right.
being what then drives you to purchase it. You're not going to see an ad on Facebook and buy a book from that. And
Mm.
so that's what I realized was there was a big opportunity to kind of capture the magic of word of mouth marketing in a platform. And then on the flip side of that, on the author side, I realized that authors had kind of gotten left out of the creator economy. They were like the last underserved creator group.
Wow.
If you look at it, Photographers have Instagram, dancers have TikTok, gamers have Twitch, musicians have Spotify, and authors don't really have a place where they can build an audience of readers and engage with those readers in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And so it felt like they were trying to make these other platforms work for them and dance on TikTok and post
Right.
photos, and those weren't their skill sets. And that's where the pain was happening and they were struggling. And so, yeah, that's where I really realized there was a big opportunity to build a platform that helped just all of us read more and discover great books and connect with friends around those books. And in the process, would allow authors to connect in a meaningful way with those readers and be the stars of the platform.
Oh my goodness, you shared so many, like, I'm such a marketing nerd, so I think the insights that you shared, I'm like, that is so much gold in there. Like, I'm really fascinated by what you said about capturing word of mouth marketing in a platform. Like,
Hmm.
my mind is blown. So, can you tell me, what does that look like? And how does Copper Books and the app facilitate that?
Yeah, so it's really driven around social engagement around books. So if you think about it, a book at the end of the day is still something that we do in isolation, whether you're reading the book or you're writing the book. And after exercising, reading is the number one thing that people wish they could do more of. And
Right.
so, what Copper does is it creates a social place where you are not only able to track what you're reading, but you're also inspired to read more because you're able to make and get these great recommendations from friends and other authors and people that you admire around what they're reading, discussions they're having around the book. So you can track the books that you're reading, set books as want to read, currently reading. It shoots confetti when you finish a book, which is my favorite. You can make all these different customized bookshelves. There's a live events feature, so you can actually get on video and meet an author that you love. Or if you're an aspiring author, we have an incredible community that's hosting events, teaching and training each other on how to write a book and giving that support. How do you become your own marketer? Things like that. And then there's discussions around the book. So if you finish a book and you're buzzing about it, it's a place where you can find other readers or ask the author a question about what they wrote.
I mean, I'm on the platform myself, so it's
Yes.
just so good. It's so good. And it definitely does help. So, whoever is watching, if you love reading, you need to go check it out. But we'll tell people more about it at the end and where they can find you. But like the thing that I feel like that's a bit foreign to me that I kind of want to learn from you is the whole concept of like pitching a business idea and getting, angel investors or investors to kind of invest in your vision. So, what have you learned
Yeah.
about sharing your vision and getting that buy-in from people?
Oh my goodness. I think that part of it has been one of the steepest learning curves
Can imagine.
of fundraising. I mean, and I have dozens and dozens of investors at this point. I have some incredible angels, some who come from really iconic tech companies, others who are authors themselves. We have a few publishers who've invested, which is really neat. And then going on to raise venture capital, which is especially hard as a female
Yeah.
entrepreneur and a sole founder. Of all venture backed companies, only 2% are founded by women.
Mm,
And there's just no getting around how dismal that number is.
yeah.
And so I'm very passionate about changing the game and the space for women raising capital. But at the heart of it, it's so much of it is around storytelling and your ability to not only see what others don't see, but also tell a story around the path to get there, around what's possible, what you're building, what your initial traction looks like, how that signals where you're going to be in the coming weeks, months, years, how big the opportunity is at scale, especially
Mm,
if you want to go venture.
yeah.
An early VC is looking for a 50x return on their
Oh,
investment.
wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty wild because a VC is funded by what's called limited partners. And so those partners are investing out of funds, and this is their small allocation of their highest risk
Mm-hmm.
capital. And so they're placing those bets knowing that the majority will probably go to zero or be very low. They're high risk investments, but that one or two out of those 10 has, the possibility of a 20 to 50x return. And so that balances the risk of the others. And so it's a very high growth kind of model. And I think most companies don't need venture investment by any stretch of the imagination. And there's so many beautiful businesses that either don't need any investors at
Sure,
all
yeah.
or only need angel investors. But when you're building technology, what's unique about it is that it's very expensive to build on the front end, but it's very scalable once it is built. And so
Right.
that's why you usually see technology companies getting the venture investment because they're very well suited for that kind of growth model, unlike other business models.
Got you. Wow. Okay. So then what would you,
The whole world. It's a whole world in and of
I can
itself. I
only,
could talk about fundraising all
like,
day.
much respect to you for just stepping into that world. For me, it's like, that's incredible and fascinating to hear about.
Well, and the other thing I'll say in that really
Yeah.
quick that I think people don't quite realize is that fundraising is a lot about building resiliency in the midst of rejection. So
Mm,
I have pitched this company hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. And the majority of those times have been a no. They've been I mean, you want to talk about ghosting and dating. You really get ghosted in
oh,
fundraising.
man.
And come off of these meetings where it's so exciting. You feel such a connection with the investor. It seems like there's such a huge opportunity, and then it's just crickets. Or you think it's absolutely a yes, and there's going to be more meetings, or you have five more meetings and you think it's a done deal. I've had those situations where I flew up to meet with the investor multiple times. I spent so much time with them, thought it was a done deal. And then in the 11th hour, they said, we're 95% of the way there, but we just can't get over the finish line. And dealing with that consistent rejection, and I'll say that specific one I mentioned was a really beautiful story because I kept going and stringing together tiny angel checks to build a prototype for about a year. And I met them again a year later and they said, "We can't believe you're still here. Normal people would have given up by now." And so they ultimately came in and led our first priced round because of seeing the perseverance. Because as a first time founder, that resiliency, the perseverance, just the grit to
Yeah.
take the rejection and use it as information to refine and get better and improve, or even just politely disagree with an investor who doesn't get your vision.
Hmm.
All of that is a really key piece of it. It's a lot more no's than it's very, very few yeses at the end of the day.
So how did you then refine that resiliency that you talk about? Because
Mm,
this is the first time you're building a tech company. You haven't done it before.
yeah.
So internally, like, what is happening? Because I can imagine like the internal battle that you have to face of like, maybe I don't know what the heck I'm doing because I've never done this before versus
Oh,
I
yeah.
really believe in this. Like,
Yeah.
how did you overcome that? How did you pick yourself back up?
Yeah, one thing I think is a real growth mindset to come into it as a learner.
Hmm.
I'm constantly reading everything I can, speaking to everyone I can, getting as much advice as I can. Literally today I finished an online workshop about fundraising because I'm like I need to keep getting better and better
Oh,
and better.
good.
And a lot of founders will tell you it may look like a fundraise takes only a few months, but it actually took 10 years of them building the relationships and the expertise and working up to it. So I think, yeah, number one, I think would be that learning. Number two would be you really have to have a clear sense of identity and who you are that is outside of your company and isn't contingent on success or failure there. Um,
Hmm.
and a community of people around you who are mirroring that back to you and validating who you are, win or lose. I don't think I could do this if I didn't have people around me who both believe in me and believe in what I'm building, but also at the same time are there who are like, and if it all goes belly up, we love you and we still believe in you. And you're learning so much and you're going to do great things from here. So I can operate out of a sense of security that whatever happens or however crushing the rejections. And I mean, I've had so many rejections that had me in tears, just feel like a punch in the gut.
Yeah.
But even that, those are all moments of growth because it causes you to get really clear on who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, and to be able to, you're not doing it because the world is telling you this is the best thing ever. You're doing it in spite of that. And that's what that you almost build your own conviction that way.
Ugh, so good. I could talk to you all day. So I am waiting for that coffee when you come to London. But
Oh,
we,
let's do it. I cannot wait.
I
I
would
would
love
love
that.
it.
It's so
I
good.
would absolutely love it.
So
Please.
let's wrap it up. I want to ask you the final question, which is if someone wanted to start or launch their own startup, what would you say is the main thing they need to have?
Ooh, the character trait I would say is grit. I think great, amazing ideas are actually a dime a dozen. Really easy to have an idea. It's really hard to execute on that idea
Yes.
and to have the grit, the perseverance, the belief, the conviction to continue. I mean, multiple times in a day, you have disappointments or you have kind of these micro failures or things that would get you
Yeah.
discouraged. And so building that grit, I actually, not to be a cliche, but a great book is Grit by Angela Duckworth. I have my whole team reading that book right now.
Okay.
But yeah, focusing on grit and then vision. So much of being a founder is seeing things that other people don't see and being able to take what you see and communicate it back to your investors, your employees, your customers in a way that's compelling and convicting so that they can catch the vision that you have.
Such great advice, Allison. All right. So, Allison, I've got a thing that we do here at Daring Forward, which is we play a game called Give Me Three. And
I
I
love
know,
games. Any game I'm in.
I love that. So,
You
I
had
had
me a
to pick.
game.
So,
I wish I was joking. We'll do a game night in London. That's what we're going
yes.
to do. We're going
Oh
to do
my
an
gosh,
actual
that
game.
would be so good. Okay, so the game is speak before you think. All right, and just give me three answers to whatever question I ask you. You ready? Okay.
Yes. I'm
No, but
nervous.
it's you're good. You're fine. Give me three subtle ways to tell someone they need to take a shower and go.
Wouldn't a shower just feel amazing right now?
That's one.
I just bought the best body wash. Do you want to try it? So
Oh
good.
my God, you do that too well. Okay, three.
I have the fluffiest towels on the planet. I would love for you to give them a try right now.
Oh my goodness. No, you're actually too good. That's scary. That's really scary. Okay. Um give me the three worst goals you can have in life.
To be the richest person on the
Wow,
planet.
okay.
I think that's not going to get you to a
No.
good place. To want to beat everybody that you're around.
So good.
I really think so much of life
Mm,
is about cheerleading and championing and supporting the people around you. I love it when my friends are better at me than me or more successful than me or like I love it. I want to see everyone in my life just flourish. And three, worst goal, oh, to be the most externally good looking person. Because I think that will always disappoint you and will cause you not to focus on the inner work that makes you a beautiful soul.
wow. This is supposed to be lighthearted. You took us right like that, like just shotgun to the heart right there. Wow. Okay. That was good. Okay. Final one. Give me the three worst things to say when you're breaking up with someone.
It's Not you, it's me.
I was waiting for that one. Okay, that's one.
But we're going to be such great friends. And this has just been a really great
Oh, no.
experience. And actually, I know a guy who his breakup was, I want to complete this
Complete
relationship.
because it's a transaction. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Ooh.
Yes, I want to complete it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
He's the
that one's
winner.
pretty bad.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was amazing, Allison. Yeah, we need to definitely do this Give Me Three again. But before
That's
we finish
amazing.
the show, can you let everybody know where they can connect with you online, where they can find and download Copper books at Copper, and take it away?
Yes. You can find Copper in the App Store. Just search Copper Books and give it a download. We're also on all of the socials. Find us at Copper Books on Instagram and our website, copperbooks.com. And you can find me. I'm at Allie Bridge on IG and would love to meet you guys. Give me a follow.
Amazing. Thank you so much again for coming on the show. This has been amazing. We definitely need another round because I can't wait to hear more about your story, and how amazing would it be to hear about where Copper is going to be in the next few years. So,
Oh, likewise. This has been so fun. And if you want to try my body wash,
if you've enjoyed today's episode, then I want to invite you to help us spread our message by choosing one of 4 ways. 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast. 2, leave a review if you're listening to the podcast. It really helps. 3, let me know in the comments below what the key takeaways were for you in today's episode. And 4, share this episode with one friend who could use a little bit of courage today. And if you want to binge our episodes, may I suggest you watch this episode right here if you're watching on YouTube. That's it. Until next time, don't forget to live courageously and dare forward.